I was afraid.
Yeah.
Um, I was afraid to tell my family. I remember when I told my dad that I was pregnant at 19. He was ready to drive to San Antonio to come get me and take me to the abortion clinic. Um, and I told him, "You may as well save your gas because I'm not going." Um, I was afraid, but I was happy, because I was gonna have a baby. As women, we're kind of trained to be mothers from children, from playing with dolls and playing house and all those things. So, um, although I was afraid, I knew that I did not want to get rid of my baby. Um,
We appreciate you.
and so I remember the day that I told your father that I was pregnant. It was the very day that I found out that he was married. So then I was faced with, even more decisions. I had to make the decision to either give my rights to you away
Because you were in the military.
because I was in the military, and that was one of the things that I would have had to give my rights to you away or to get out. So I made the decision to get out.
Because at that time, I remember you saying you were actually about to get stationed in Germany.
Yes, I was headed to Germany. That was where my first duty station was going to be.
Yeah.
Kind of ironic because that was my dad's first duty station after I was born. So they say the first language I spoke was German. So that's where I was as a baby.
And it's weird. The Lord ended up sending me in college in an exchange program, even though I was taking Spanish.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was a no-brainer for me because I wasn't giving my rights away.
Yeah.
So I made the decision to get out. I left, and I went to Chicago. I hadn't lived with my mom in years since I was like 9, I think. And I went to Chicago where my mom was, and because pride wouldn't let me go back home to Granny.
Now, Granny is, just for the people that don't know.
She is my grandmother. She raised me. She's my father's mom. And she raised me from fourth grade until I graduated, and then, even after.
So you said pride wouldn't let you go back.
Well, we had a really big fight the last time I had came to visit from home. Um, I was visiting while I was in the military, and I stayed out too late. My grandmother's rule was you don't come into my house after midnight. I had to be home at 11:59. She says that it's the next day, and nobody was coming in her house the next day. So she rolled her hair from the time I left every time till I came back. It took her 2.5, 3 hours sometimes to roll her hair, but she wasn't finished rolling that last curl until I was in the house. And so I got home at 2 o'clock in the morning. That time I came home to visit, and we got into a big argument. And I told her I was grown and I was gone. So, they say you shouldn't burn bridges, but I had burned that bridge.
Yeah. But y'all were able to later on heal that.
Yes, after I went to Chicago, that was not the life for me. They were shooting, there were drugs everywhere. It was not a good neighborhood. Honestly, there was not even always electricity in the house. There wasn't always running water in the house, and I wasn't used to that. Now, we wasn't rich at Granny's house, but we had everything we needed.
Yeah.
And I knew that wasn't the environment that I wanted to raise a child in. So I called Granny and I apologized for the statement that I made. And I asked her, could I come home? And she said, you could always come home.
That's good. So you went back to Philadelphia. And then what happened?
Well, I'm 19. I'm pregnant. I went back to Philadelphia. I worked 2 jobs. I worked 3 jobs while I was pregnant. I worked at Pizza Hut. I worked at Sonic, and I was a substitute teacher. And I did all of that while I was pregnant until you were born, and I saved all my money so I was able to buy my first car.
And then we went to USM.
Yeah, we went to USM. You were the USM baby.
Okay. So you said that you weren't giving your rights away? Was it that you just didn't trust anybody to help you with me, or you just wanted to raise me yourself?
Well, you know, I didn't grow up with my mom. And I knew what that did to me. So, because that was hard, I knew I didn't want to do that to my child. So, I said I was going to do it myself. And my grandmother ensured that.
Yeah.
You know, although she took me on, she would not let me do that. She would not get up in the middle of the night with you. You know, if you were crying and she heard you crying, she was like, you hear that baby, don't make me have to get up, because if she got up, I was finna get knocked out. You know, I
Being grown.
like, that's
Finna
your
get knocked
baby.
out, yeah.
She said, you're gonna take care of that baby.
Yeah.
I had friends who, had babies that were young. Some were younger than me. And their moms, kept their babies while they went to college. That was never an option. Granny didn't even say that was an option. So even if I wanted to go down that road, she wouldn't have let me. She made me be a mom.
Yeah. And let me make it clear. My granny loved me. Okay. She did. She used to get up at 3:00 in the morning and fix me a bowl of ice cream if I asked her to.
Oh, yeah, she was spoiled. She spoiled you all. She
Yeah.
spoiled all of us.
Yeah. Not you.
Oh, yeah, she did spoil me too.
She spoiled you too. All I heard was the stories of you getting beat from the
Oh,
neighbor
no.
house to her house.
Oh, yeah, I know. She wore my butt out. I still believe
Yeah.
in whoopings.
Okay.
I am that parent. I believe in whoopings. Now, I may not have always done it the right way,
Yeah.
but I believe that there is a right way, even according to the word of God,
Yeah.
that if you spare the rod, you spoil the child. And may have taken it out of context or too far, but I do believe in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I got a couple of beatings now.
But this is what she would always say. You got some you deserved, some you didn't deserve. And the ones that you didn't deserve made up for the ones you should have got that you didn't get.
I still think I had a couple extras. Yeah. Now I don't know. Listen. I don't know if we gon' whoop. We ain't decided yet. We got to see how she turned out. My husband didn't need no whoopings though. I think his mama said he got one. That was all he needed. So maybe she just gonna need one, and that's it.
Every child, I don't believe every child needs it.
Yeah.
But you do have to know the temperament of your children.
Yeah.
When it says spare the rod, spoil the child, not meaning spoil like, they get everything they want. When you see children doing things like having temper tantrums and their behavior, is uncontrollable, that's a different thing. And sometimes if you don't nip it in the bud when they're young, you suffer. And the Bible says when they get older, you'll suffer for it.
We just gonna hope she got her daddy temperament then, because I think I was a little bad.
I was bad.
Okay.
And
so
you
I got
were
it-
bad.
I
Yes,
got it
you
from
were bad.
Okay, I got it from you. Now, I remember a couple of instances where, let's just say I didn't get whoopings, I got beat. Okay. And now I think we're at a healthy place where we can laugh, joke about it, and do all of those things. But at the time, it was really hard for me to accept. And I think that's why I used to grow up and be like, I'll never with my kids. I'm never doing this. My kids ain't never going to have to do a chore in their life. I'm going to clean the whole house. I know better now. Okay. She's 6 months old. She going to be doing some chores. Okay. She going to learn some responsibilities.
You're going to be singing the Barney song, clean up,
Correct.
everybody, everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. We going to...
Everybody do their share.
Gracie's Corner, she got a version of the cleanup song. So we're definitely going to... and I think that is healthy, right? Because you have to learn how to one day take care of your own home. But there were there was a couple whoopings. Not that I did not deserve them, but I will say they did go a little extreme. And you mentioned that you didn't always necessarily do them the right way. There is a right way, but that you didn't always necessarily do them the right way.
Because you shouldn't whoop when you're angry.
Yeah.
You have to have a time. And my husband is really good at that. Your dad, he's really good at that.
I don't know, because he beat me too, okay? Let me just say, he might wait. But I felt like he was still angry later on down the road. Okay.
So yeah, you're not supposed to whoop in anger, and that's I think where my biggest downfall was, like still being angry. But I think a lot of it was there was so much of you or me in you that I didn't want it to come out. You know, the bad parts.
I will say to that very, very specifically, as a child, I think, and I've thought about it recently, like, what did I need the most from my mom so that I can be that for my daughter? And I think, to a certain degree, what I needed the most was for you to love yourself more. I needed you to accept yourself more, because I would see you, and I'm a child, but I would see you beat yourself up so much and be so hard on yourself, and that's what would come out. And then you would see those negative parts of you in me, and that was what you kind of focused on, instead of saying, well, let me see how amazing I am as a mom, as a wife, as just a human being, like as an individual. Like, what are all the good parts of me? And let me nurture those things in her and cultivate those things in her so that she'll love herself more. And I don't, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, because I tell people all the time, like my mom's like amazing, you know, and I don't know if you can see that all the time. But as a child, I think, as I've been just kind of processing through things recently, it's like, man, I wish I would have seen my mom love herself more. I saw you beat up on yourself so much. I saw you belittle yourself. You would talk down on your gifts and your talents and your dreams, and you would say the things, you know, that you were good at too, but I ended up hearing from you more negative things than I did positive at that time. So I guess the question would then be, why was it so hard for you? Is it just, were you overwhelmed? Like, was everything just kind of compounding, trying to be a mom, trying to be a new wife, trying to be an employee, like everything else? Was it that what was so stressful for you?
I think that I really wasn't taught love.
Yeah.
Or what love was, you know? I think my parents loved me. I don't doubt that at all. But I wasn't taught how to express it. They didn't know how to express it. And so for a long time, I didn't love myself. And I think it's because of what was instilled in me, even becoming, you know, pregnant so young. It was very hard. I heard the backlash from family members. One family member, an aunt in particular that I was really close to, our relationship became very estranged after getting pregnant. Because, you know, she was, you know, your fast-tailed and went out there and got pregnant, da-da-da-da. And that wasn't my intention when I left to go to the military. And I definitely wasn't intending to get pregnant by a married man. Like, I wasn't out there looking. I didn't even know he was married. Funny thing is, before I left to go to the military, my daddy told me something. That old man wise. He's very wise. He said, be careful when you go out there. There's going to be married men out there who don't wear their rings. He was absolutely correct. So getting pregnant, having to go back home from the military, working, going to college, working full time, struggling financially, no help. You know, I had assistance like, food stamps and Section 8 and, things like that to help float me. But I mean, really no physical help. And I did meet my family in Hattiesburg, which was a big help. They would watch you while I worked and, did things like that. I'm grateful for my family that I met in Hattiesburg. But I mean, like, it was just me. So I remember one year, it was your birthday. It was tough. And I worked at Walmart. I worked at student employment. I had a car note. I had rent, all the things. You always had the best clothes. I would walk around with holes in my shoes so that you could have the best. And it was your birthday. I didn't have a lot of money. I wanted to have a party. And I used to clean houses. I don't know if I ever told you this or not. Mm-hmm. And I cleaned houses, and I was cleaning house for a pretty wealthy lady. And she had some bad kids. And I would have to clean her house while her bad kids was there. And they would come make messes after I would clean things. And I remember one day she gave me a toothbrush. And she wanted me to get down and scrub the grout with a toothbrush in her floors. And I wanted to walk out and say, I'm not degrading myself or belittling myself like that. But it was your birthday. And I had a party planned and I needed the money. So I remember sitting in that floor on my knees, scrubbing that floor with the toothbrush, crying. And I did it, and I got paid, and I had the party, and I quit. I never went back again. So it was hard being a single mom. I can't lie, and say that it wasn't hard. It got easier when I got saved. I got saved at 22 years old. You were almost 3 when I got saved. And I did it I always say, I did it for me and I did it for you. It's the best decision that I ever could have made. But because salvation is instant, but sanctification is a process. In the process of sanctification, I had to learn how to forgive myself and to forget the past and to move forward.